أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ثم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا صاحب الأسر والزمان روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمك فدايا مولاي ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, dear listeners. We will be discussing about Khutbatul Mutaqeen from Nahjul Balagh. Nahjul Balagh is a book of a collection of sermons, sayings and letters by Imam al-Muttaqeen Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. It's a popular book from a popular personality, and the book needs no introduction. The question is, why would we be discussing Khutbatul Mutaqeen at this point of time? In Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in verse number 183, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykumus siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. O you who believe, fasting has been ordained upon you the way it was prescribed for a people before you, so that you may become muttaqeen, so that you may acquire taqwa. The popular verse to describe the month of Ramadan, the Shahr Ramadan that we are passing days in, talks about fasting and why it was prescribed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has prescribed fasting upon us just like it was prescribed upon a community before us. But the whole purpose of prescribing fasting is so that you may come out of the Shahr Ramadan with taqwa as muttaqeen. So one reason for discussing Khutbatul Mutaqeen in the month of Ramadan is to be finding out about the qualities of muttaqeen. Another reason is because these are the days that we commemorate the Shahada of Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. So we give this discussion as a tribute to the Master. And this is sermon number 193, which is known as either Khutbatul Mutaqeen or it is also known as Khutbatul Hammam. So Hammam was a companion of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and history states that he was an abid, he was a worshipper who came to Imam and when Imam was amidst people, and he questioned Imam to describe the qualities of Muttaqeen in such a way that Hammam would be able to visualize them. It was as though he would see them in front of him. So he wanted to actually picture a pious person, and he wanted to know the qualities so that he can visualize those qualities and know who a Muttaqi is. So Imam Ali alayhi salam was reluctant in replying to Hammam. And in his reluctance, the Imam responds, O Hammam, be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and perform good acts. Why? Because Inna Allaha ma'alladhina taqaw walladhina hum muhsinun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with those who have taqwa, with those who guard against evil, and walladhina hum muhsinun, and also those who do good to others, who are good doers. So you be conscious of Allah, perform good acts, and because Allah is with those who have taqwa and He is with those who are good doers. So Imam wanted this brief answer to suffice. But Hammam insisted, and he did not take this answer as a satisfactory answer. So when Hammam insisted on Imam to give a better description, a more vivid description, a more clearer picture, upon Hammam's insistence, Imam starts the description. And so Imam Ali alayhi salam, in sermon 193, he gives something that you and I can call a checklist, because it describes all the qualities of Muttaqeen. So with somebody like you and I, who are looking forward to acquiring taqwa in this holy month, so that when we finish the Shahr Ramadan and come out into the month of Shawwal, we tend to come out as Muttaqeen. So when Allah says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, we qualify to have acquired taqwa. And in order to find out whether we manage to qualify or not, then Imam Ali alayhi salam provides a very beautiful checklist in this sermon. So Imam says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He has told us to worship Him, Allah is needless of all our worship. So Imam says that people, when they worship Allah, Allah is glorified and sublime, and He has created the creation without any need for their obedience. So Allah is Al-Ghani, He is the self-sufficient one. He does not need anybody's obedience, and He is safe from all sinning. So when a person sins, he is not wronging or harming Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is harming his own self. And when he is obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is not in any way doing any favor on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imam begins the sermon with defining that when a person is obeying Allah, it is for his own good, and when a person is sinning, it is for his own harm. And Allah is Ghani, He is needless from any obedience or any sin. And then Imam continues. So he describes in this sermon, number 193, he describes two types of descriptions. They are all descriptions of Muttaqeen. But there are two types of descriptions where it's a mixture, okay? So there are two types of descriptions. There are those things that you and I can work upon and try to attain those qualities in our character. And there are those qualities which, through our struggle, there are some qualities that automatically become apparent as people move towards taqwa. So there's nothing that you and I can consciously do to acquire those qualities other than struggle to those qualities that are attainable. So when we discuss today, we will be discussing the first type of qualities, which is the qualities where you and I can consciously put in effort. And for the other part of the checklist, because if we are going to check the checklist, then we will check the entire checklist. So for the other part of the checklist and the other qualities which automatically come into our existence because of the struggle put in other areas, you and I need to read up the sermon number 193, Khutbatul Hammam. So Imam says, they are special qualities. They are, Imam begins, mantiquhum as-sawab. Their mantiq, the mantiq of the Muttaqeen, the speech of the Muttaqeen, have special qualities. They keep it short, they keep it simple. They are not people who blabber. When they speak, their speech is decent speech. So they do not abuse anybody or they do not shout at anybody. That speech is good to listen to, and they always speak the truth. Then Imam says that وَمَشْيُهُمَ التَّوَاضِعِ. When they walk humble. Their gait is a humble gait. They don't walk arrogantly on earth. And وَمَلْبَسُهُمْ الْإِقْتَصِدِ. Their dressing is in moderation. So yes, they may be wearing good clothes, expensive clothes, branded clothes, yes. But it is all in moderation to their status. And he says, غَضُّوا أَبْصَارَهُمْ عَمَّا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. So they shut their eyes to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden them to look at. So very popular verse of Surah Nur, verse number 30 for men and 31 for women, is to, in these two verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Holy Prophet to tell the believing men and the believing women to lower their gaze. So this is with regards to looking at namahram. So it is haram for a man to look at a namahram woman, and haram for a woman to look at a namahram man lustfully. So these looks are one thing, looking down when you come across a namahram. But Imam Ali alayhi salam in this sermon, he says, غَضُّوا أَبْصَارَهُمْ عَمَّا حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. They lower their gaze with whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has forbidden them to see. Why? Because the eyes are windows to the soul. So when you tend to look at something, that thing, whether it is good or bad for the soul, it penetrates the soul. Just like if your window is open, the dust from outside or the sunshine from outside or sometimes the rain drops from outside, they tend to enter your house, don't they? Why? Because the window is open. So if you leave your window to the soul open, meaning your eyes and your ears and other parts, which take in information and take it to your soul, then your soul is bound to be contaminated. So Imam Ali alayhi salam says in this sermon, these are the muttaqeen. When they come across things which are haram, they lower their gaze. They don't look at them. They save their soul through shutting their eyes to haram things. And then he says, وَوَقَفُوا أَسْمَاعَهُمْ عَلَى الْعِلْمِ النَّافِعِ لَهُمْ. And when it comes to listening, they lend their ear to those things that are going to benefit them. So they lend their ear, meaning they give their active listening to those things which are going to benefit them. So they are not just going to listen. When they listen to something and they realize that this is beneficial, they listen, they learn, they take lessons from that learning, and once they have taken lessons, they practice on what they know. Why? Because practice what you know, and it will help you make clear to what you do not know. So the doors of learning and knowledge will open up when you start practicing upon what you already know. So their ears are lended to those things that are going to benefit them. Then Imam talks about these Muttaqeen's mental and spiritual state. This is again an area where we can to somehow control. Okay, so he says, قُلُوبُهُمْ مَحْزُونَةٌ, their hearts are sad. Does that mean that a Muttaqi is 24/7 in tears? No, they're cheerful people. When they meet people, they are cheerful with other people. But their hearts are sad. Why? Because there is so many things that is going on in their mind and in their hearts. As we discuss through the sermon, we will understand what the Imam has tried to say. So their hearts are sorrowful because of the burden that is on the heart. And then he says, وَشُرُورُهُمْ مَأْمُونَةٌ, and people are protected from evil from their hands. Why? Because these are the people who see no evil, they do hear no evil, and they speak no evil. So when they are amidst people, they do not harm people. People are safe from their evils. They know how to guard themselves. And then he says, وَأَجْسَادُهُمْ نَحِيفَةٌ, and their bodies are weak. So when you look at them, they look weak. Well, Imam Ali alayhi salam also used to eat dry bread. Yeah. But then when it came to lifting the door of Khaybar, subhanallah, he could do it. Why? Because that was his spiritual strength. So outwardly, yes, they look weak. But innerly, they have a very good strength in them. So it's just that their outward appearance is as though they are weak people. وَحَاجَاتُهُمْ خَفِيفَةٌ, and their needs are scanty. Here, the Imam might be wanting us to think and reflect and ponder. Sometimes we tend to mix up our wants and needs. Sometimes our wants are so high and we are so much relying upon our wants and we so much want to satisfy our wants that we tend to think that they are our needs. So when we mix up between wants and needs, then those needs become too many. Actually, they're not needs, they are wants. Needs are things that we need to survive. And those are very few. And those are very comfortably provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for every human being. So Imam alayhi salam describes Muttaqeen saying, وَحَاجَاتُهُمْ خَفِيفَةٌ, and their needs are very scanty. وَأَنفُسُهُمْ عَفِيفَةٌ, because of doing all this, their souls are enlightened. Their souls are light. They do not feel burden upon themselves. Why? Because they have disconnected themselves and dissociated themselves from the worldly life and from small connections here and there, and they are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is Nurus samawati wal ard. So their souls are enlightened. And then I may be skipping a lines here and there because I'm trying to pick on those things that we can put to practice so that we start struggling, so that we can automatically see the effect in the signs which appear in our character once we put in a struggle on the other side. So Imam says, صَبَرُوا أَيَّامًا قَصِيرَةً أَعَقَّبَتْهُمْ رَاحَةً طَوِيلًا. They are patient for few days. Why are they patient for few days? So that they secure rahat and comfort for a long time that is to come. So they are patient in the dunya when atrocities surround them, when things are bothering them, when they are in unpleasant situations. They show patience because they realize that this is a short-term thing. And my long-term goal is my akhirah, which is going to be a permanent thing. So they are patient for a few days for a big rahat and a big comfort coming for a long, long time to come. And thus, tijaratum murbiha, they have made a profitable deal with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it's a deal with Allah that, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are giving me tests in the world. I am amidst tribulations, but I will bear patiently. Why? Because I want your happiness, which is going to be with me for the entire life that I'm going to live in the hereafter. That's a wonderful deal. And Imam says, أرادتهم الدنيا ولم يريدوها. The dunya wants it. The dunya attracts muttaqeen, but they do not want it. As you can see in the image, all those worldly attractions, the big malls and the entertainment, and well, I'm not denying entertainment when it is halal entertainment, but when somebody gets engrossed so much in the entertainment that he tends to forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now then that is where the problem rises. So the Imam says that those entertainments are pulling him like a magnet would pull somebody. But no, they are very firm and they say, no, not me. I'm not going to be distracted. I know my goal. I know my focus. And yes, I will live in the world. Yes, I will have entertainments. Yes, I will have fun in the world. Yes, I will go to malls. But I will not get so much engrossed in them that I forget Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Hadith al-Qudsi, خَلَقْتُ الْأَشْيَاءَ لِأَجْلِكَ. I have created all the things so that they can serve you. So yes, the malls and the entertainment and the beaches and all that are for you and I. Allah says He has created them for us. But then He says, وَخَلَقْتُكَ لِأَجْلِي. But I've created you for me. So when those things become such a distraction that it becomes a hindrance in my servitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, well, that is where the problem rises. So that is where the Muttaqeen say, no, stop it. I'm not going to allow it to happen because I'm connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because I'm there to serve Him and for no other purpose but to serve Him. أَمَا اللَّيْلِ فَصَافُونَ أَقْدَامَهُمْ. And at nights, their feet are standing. They are in lines of prayer. They are reading portions of Quran. They are reciting the Quran in a well-measured way. وَرَتِّلِ الْقُرْآنَ تَرْتِيلًا. And they are creating through the recitation a grief for themselves. And from the Quran, they seek a cure for their ailments. How do we get cure from the Quran? You know, if I were to tell you that I was sick and I went to visit a doctor and the doctor prescribed some medication which the pharmacist gave me, and I got the prescription, I brought it home and I put it on my bathroom shelf, and well, it stayed there. And I'm looking at it every day. And yes, I went to the doctor and I have the medicine on my shelf, so I'm going to get cured. Aren't you going to laugh at me? Why? Because in order to be cured, I need to use that medicine, right? If I just keep it on the shelf, it is not going to give me any cure. In the same way, the Muttaqeen, when they look at the Quran and they look at their problems, they read the Quran, they look at the meaning of the Quran, they see how the Quran speaks to them, they take messages from the Quran and put it into their life so that they get a cure for their inner sicknesses. The Quran is not merely on their shelves, it's in their lives. And then the Imam talks about their spiritual state. So just as tabarrukun, I will mention one thing, that the Imam says that they journey through the Quran, they travel through the Quran. Beautiful, mashallah. Amirul Mu'mineen, in his language, every word is worth pondering. So he says they journey through the Quran. They're reading the Quran. But Imam says they travel through the Quran. Why? Because it's an inner journey of their spiritual self. They're making a journey. They have begun somewhere and they are going somewhere through recitation of those verses, because they are dwelling upon the verses. They are thinking upon the verses. They are taking those verses and putting them into action. So when they see those verses, Imam says, as they travel through the verses of the Quran and they come across the verses of heaven, they feel they are in heaven. They feel the spiritual bliss of heaven. They can feel the huris and the angels. And when they come across the verses of Jahannam, they can hear people wailing in Jahannam. They can feel the fire of hell. These are the Muttaqeen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to be amongst the Muttaqeen. Then he says, وَأَمَّا النَّهَارِ. So he spoke about the night, and then he speaks about the day. And he says, وَأَمَّا النَّهَارِ. When you look at them during the day, their days are spent in learning. They are people of knowledge. And there are people who are God-fearing. They do not cross boundaries. When Sharia says something, they do not argue. Sometimes what we happen to do is, when we come across Sharia rules that do not speak to us, then we tend to question. But why does Sharia say this? But I do not understand. And it does not meet my logic. So Imam Ali alayhi salam explains that they are not people who cross boundaries. They are God-fearing people. When Sharia says something, it is sam'an wa ta'an. You know, listeners, when it comes to usuluddin, you and I are allowed to question anything and everything when it comes to acceptance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when it comes to acceptance of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when it comes to accepting the A'imma as our A'imma, when it comes to accepting the Adala of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when it comes to accepting the Ma'ad and Yawmul Ma'ad, we are allowed to bring as many questions as we want to ask. And we satisfy our brain and our intellect with the answers. But once we have accepted that the usul are correct and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one and Muhammad is his messenger and the imams were appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the book is his book, then there are no more questions. Yes, we can ask questions to understand the philosophy behind things, but we cannot ask questions about why such and such rule is saying so and so. And we cannot say that I will not do it till I know why I'm supposed to do it. Questions are open in usuluddin. Furu automatically becomes incumbent upon anybody who has accepted the usul. So Imam, in defining the Muttaqeen, says these are God-fearing people. They do not cross boundaries. And when you look at them, they are people of virtue. You will see them as virtuous people. And their hearts are enduring hearts. You don't see them wavering. They are not shaky. They are firm. And their hearts are firm on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said. And Imam continues, لَا يَرْضَوْنَ مِنْ أَعْمَالِهِمْ الْقَلِيلِ. These are the people, they are not satisfied with their small deeds. وَلَا يَسْتَكْثِرُونَ الْكَثِيرِ. And sometimes they perform big actions, but they do not see them as big. When somebody would come and tell them that, hello, you've done something so marvelous, and they would say, no, this is something so small. They don't see their big things as big, and they're not happy with what they see as small. So these are progressive people, because progress is not created by contented people. These people are not contented with what they're doing, so they are always constantly on the move to perfecting themselves and to doing big things, which they keep on seeing as small, so that they continue working and accumulating what they need to accumulate before the time is up. These are the Muttaqeen. And إِذَا زُكِّيَ أَحَدٌ مِّنْهُمْ خَافَ مِمَّا يُقَالَ لَهُ. And when somebody speaks good of them, they are afraid. Why are they afraid? When somebody tells them, hey brother, you are so good, you are a pious person, you are a believing person, they don't feel good about it. They become fearful. Why? Because they say in their own minds and in their own hearts, I know myself better than others. And Allah, you know me better than they know me. Oh Allah, they have such a high opinion of me. They think so highly of me. Oh Allah, place me where they think of me, or place me above what they think of me. And when you account me, do not account me of what they think of me, because I'm not what they think. I'm paraphrasing Imam's words, that this is not what I am. So they don't become happy with people's praises. They become fearful because they know themselves better than they are known to be outside. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises such good praises about us amidst people that we are undeserving of those praises. Like Imam Ali alayhi salam says in Dua Kumail, فَكَمْ مِنْ ثَنَاءٍ جَمِيلٍ لَسْتُ أَهْلًا لَهُ نَشَرْتَ. In how many beautiful praises you have praised amongst people, but I was not deserving of them. So this is how the Muttaqeen feel, that we do not deserve these praises, but Allah in His grace and in His boon, He is spreading praises about me. Surely I don't deserve, so Allah, don't take account of me from what they think of me. Be merciful and be gracious to me, and raise me, lift me, elevate me, put me to a status where they think of me, or maybe above what they think of me, so that I'm able to attain your pleasure. These are the Muttaqeen. Then Imam says something very, very nice, something that we can actually practice upon. Not that all the other things are not practicable, but this too, amongst the others, is a very good thing to do to train the nafs. So Imam says, إِنِ اسْتَصْعَبَتْ عَلَيْهِ نَفْسُهُ فِي مَا تَكْرَهُ. When the nafs, when he wants to do something and his nafs is hateful towards it, لَمْ يُؤْتِهَا سُؤْلَهَا فِي مَا تُحِبُّ. Then when it comes to things that the nafs desires, then he does not give it to him. It is like the person says, I'm taking charge. The nafs, as we all know, Imam Ali alayhi salam has said, the nafs is like, if you leave the nafs, it's like you are leaving a wild horse. Yeah? So the nafs is like a wild horse. If you don't mount on it and if you don't take charge of it, then it can throw you down. And you don't even realize where you got thrown. So Imam says, take charge of your nafs. And these are the people who, how do they take charge of their nafs? If his heart refuses to endure a thing which is unpleasant, he does not give it to it what is pleasant to it. So for example, a Muttaqeen wants to pray Salatul Layl. So he wakes up in the middle of the night and he wants to pray Salatul Layl. And the nafs says, oh wow, I am so sleepy today. So what he will do is, probably he's sleepy and it's not a wajib prayer, so he can sleep, and maybe he would go to sleep because he's sleepy and he would fear probably not concentrating on that prayer because now his nafs doesn't desire. So he's, okay, fine, I don't desire, my nafs doesn't desire to pray, I'll go back to sleep. But the next time the heart desires to do something, then he tells his nafs, you remember what you did last night? Huh? You remember I wanted to pray Salatul Layl, but you did not desire to pray? So now you desire to eat an ice cream, but I will not give it to you. I'll deny you that ice cream as a punishment for denying me that lutf of praying Salatul Layl. So they have a conversation with their nafs. They talk to their nafs. And they have a bargain with their nafs that if you do not do what I'm asking you to do, I will not do what you are asking me to do. قُرَّةُ عَيْنِهِ فِي مَا لَا يَزُولُ. The pleasure of their eyes is set on those things that are permanent. لَا يَزُولُ. They will not perish. وَزَهَادَتُهُ فِي مَا لَا يَبْقَى. And those things that are perishable, they obtain zuhad against them. By zuhad, I do not mean that they do not enjoy themselves. They are, yes, they are living in the world. They are enjoying their worldly life. They are in the world and enjoying the world and enjoying the life and having a jolly good time and a jolly good life with their family and friends. But they are not so much attached to those petty things that their focus from the akhirah, from the non-perishable, gets forgotten in the path. So they realize that dunya is like a drop of water and the akhirah is like an ocean to them. So they see the worldly pleasures as eternal bliss, which is way more important than spending so much time in their worldly life. And then Imam says, when you want to see, you will see in the Muttaqeen, the hopes are very simple. They have small, small hopes. They don't lay high hopes in petty things. And their shortcomings are also very few because they are working with consciousness. So they don't just do things. They think about how to go about and the consequences of their actions, and they have planned their way so that they do not commit shortcomings. and they have a fearful heart, which is fearing the consequences of their actions. So they are very mindful, and that mindfulness gives them a contented spirit. So their soul is at rest, and a contented spirit is something that gives you the sweetness of existence. And how do you come to that? One of the biggest distractions is food. So Imam says their meals are small and simple. We're not against eating good food. Yes, once in a while, attending a banquet and having nice food, nurun ala nur, because they are from Allah's bounties on earth. But if you make it a habit of having banquets every day, then that food becomes a distraction. Why? Because your mouth and your belly is also a door to your soul. Just like the eyes and the ears, the mouth and the belly are also windows to your soul. So once we start eating anything and everything, then the soul starts getting contaminated. His religion is safe. So he has safeguarded his religion with God consciousness, and he has killed his unlawful desires. And above all, he has managed to suppress his anger, because anger is the biggest vice. So he has managed, when you look at a muttaqi, you will not see him an angry person. So these are some of the qualities that the Imam described to Hammam. And then he says, Ya'fu amman zalamahu. When somebody oppresses them, they are forgiving to those people. They forgive those people who oppress them. They have a forgiving nature. Why? Because when somebody oppresses you, the person walks away. When we continue thinking about that oppression, now it is that thought that is oppressing me. So as long as I dwell upon that oppression, now I have become an oppressor. But if I have a habit of forgiving those people who oppress me, the person is moved on, and I've said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you deal with him. I have forgiven him. So I have forgiven him, and I have forgotten about him. The chapter in my upstairs, in my mind, the chapter is closed. Yu'ti man haramahu. And even those people who deny him, they give to them. They're not bakhil. وَيَصِلُ مَنْ قَطَعَهُ. And even those people who break relations with them, they reach out to them. Why? Because they choose kindness. Kindness is their language. They realize that this life is temporary. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. Show kindness so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show His kindness to you. These are the Muttaqeen. They have a language of forgiveness. They have a language of kindness, and that is their second nature. And now Imam says what he does not. So what you would not see a Muttaqi doing. So Imam says he does not misappropriate what is placed in his custody. They are very much careful with amanat. They do not do khayanat. And they do not forget what they are required to remember. So he's careful about what he would not go every now and then, oh my, I forgot. Yeah, so if I have a habit of doing that, I should be careful and remember what things I need to remember, so I do not constantly say, oh gosh, I forgot. They don't forget what they are supposed to remember, and they do not call others by bad names, and they cause no harm to their neighbors, and they do not feel happy at others' misfortunes. They don't enter into wrong, they do not do any munkar, and they do not come out of the right, and they do not forsake any ma'ruf. They are there with all the ma'ruf, and they are away from all munkar. In samat lam yahummuhu samtah. When they are silent, their silence do not cause them sorrow. Sometimes people like me, when I'm silent, I feel like I'm getting suffocated because I'm used to talking. Why? Because there's lots going on in my mind. It's noisy up here, and that noise needs to come out. So when the mind is peaceful and tranquilized, then the language becomes silent. So they are people of silent minds, so that their speech is also silent. And then that silence does not bother them. Why? Because their mind is silenced. They are tranquilized from their mind. So silence becomes a source of their strength. وَإِنْ ضَحِكَ لَمْ يَعْلُ صَوْتَهُ. And when they laugh, they don't laugh loudly. You will not hear them going, ha 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 ha. They don't laugh loudly. Their laughter is a silent laughter as well. وَالنَّاسْ مِنْهُ فِي رَاحَةٍ. People are safe from their hands. People get comfort from their hands. أَطْأَبُ نَفْسَهُ لِآخِرَتِهِ وَأَرَاحَ النَّاسِ مِنْ نَفْسِهِ. For themselves, they give their souls trouble to prepare for the hereafter. But people around them are at comfort with what they are doing. So they go out of their way. They walk that extra mile to do what? To be of service to people, so that they can make people comfortable. It becomes their nature, their akhlaq, to serve people and make everybody around them be very, very comfortable, even if they are causing discomfort to themselves. Why? Because, as we said earlier, when they are patient for a little time and patiently bear that discomfort of service, tomorrow they are securing a very comfortable future. So they are cool, but they're also warm. They treat others with so much warmth that everybody around them is at comfort, and they may be at discomfort, but they are securing a long-lasting comfort in the hereafter. So Imam said many, many qualities. I have managed to say a few in the short time that we have. And when Hammam was listening to all this, and as Imam was speaking, Hammam felt a swoon, and he lost his life. So Hammam gave up his life, and he passes away. And Imam at this point says that I was fearing this. And that is why I was avoiding, now I'm paraphrasing, that is why I was avoiding saying this. Verily by Allah, I had this fear about him. Why did something like this happen to Hammam? Imam explains. Effective advices produce such effect on receptive minds. Because Hammam's mind was a receptive mind, because Hammam's heart was a receptive heart, when he heard all those qualities, when a receptive heart hears truthful words, he starts thinking about himself and starts placing himself. Where am I? Where do I belong? With these qualities that my master is describing, where do I match up to? So you and I also, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq. At the end of the month, we will check on the checklist and see how we match up to these qualities of Muttaqeen, and tick all those things that we match up to and struggle towards those that we don't match up to. But before we come to the end of the month and before we start looking at the checklist, what you and I still need to do is, because we have seen only some of those qualities that we can put in our character, we need to read up sermon number 193. So don't forget to pick up your books of Nahjul Balagh and refer to sermon number 193. Look at those qualities, because I have picked only what time has allowed me to speak. There are so many that we can still look at and put into our struggle, and then there are so many that will automatically come into our character, and we will realize and inshallah be awed with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can bless us with. So remember to read sermon number 193, Khutbatul Hammam, and journey with the tawfiq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I pray for tawfiq for myself, I pray for tawfiq for you also to journey through this sermon, and by the time we reach the month of Shawwal, we may be able to check and tick a lot of items on the checklist provided by Imam al-Muttaqeen, Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib. May our lives be sacrificed for him. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.